Hey folks, Pallid here, back with another Minecraft video. If you've been here before, this is a continuation of the village project that I've been working on for the past, well, little over a year now. If this is your first time here, welcome. I hope you enjoy what you see as we take a look at the projects that I've been working on for the last couple of weeks. I've been working on a lot of smaller builds recently, not anything really big or fancy, but a few things that hopefully will set me up for some of the future projects that I have in mind. And a lot of what I've been working on have been farms of one form or another. This is one that is something that I realized I had neglected, and that was a netherwort farm. If I want to have any sort of potion making going on in my village, I'm going to need a bit of a supply of netherwort. And unfortunately, I just didn't have a lot of resources to start with. I had less than a stack of individual netherwort plants, so I went ahead and set out a small little plot here next to my other crops and have started growing, and as I harvest this, I'm just going to keep feeding it back in until I've got the whole area growing. Nothing really fancy there, but one of the projects that I have in mind down the road is I'd like to get some automated potion machines built. Ways that I can just go hit a button and automatically have say a fire res potion ready to go, or an invisibility potion, or something like that. I don't necessarily need every potion that's available, but there are some that come in handy, especially when you spend some time in the nether. So this is just one of those projects that I needed to get going before I got to the point of building those potion machines. Now, we're going to head up here and talk about this one. This is probably the biggest farm that I've worked on recently, and I will get away from the sheep here in a moment so we don't have to listen to them baaing, but I have set this up so that I have one sheep of every color being automatically sheared. And if you may have seen this in one of my very early videos, I had about 4 individual sheep shearing stations set up over in another part of the village. And that got me a few colors. Like, I had a lot of gray, I had a lot of yellow, red, and blue. I just didn't really have great access to a lot of other colors. I had some individual sheep of those colors, but that took a long time if I needed any significant amount of white or black or really anything other than red, yellow, and blue. And I realized that that was a bit of a problem when I was building my airship, and I needed some colors for the envelope of the balloon up there. So this hasn't been running very long, but as you can see, it's starting to produce. And let's just get away from the sheep for a moment, or at least not right next to them. And I really do not remember who it was I saw that taught me how to make those. I know it was some YouTuber that had come up with that idea or had iterated on it from a basic standpoint. And if it's not something you're familiar with, I can show you quickly how it works. The first thing that you have is a double chest with a hopper feeding into it. And of course, to get the hopper feeding in, you have to crouch as you place it down. On top of that hopper, well, actually, let me set up some framework here a little bit, because this is all underground, and as we go, I'll explain it a little bit here. On top of that hopper, we put a rail, again crouching so that we can place that, and then a hopper mine cart on top of that. One of the reasons that we use the hopper mine cart is because it can pull items through a solid block. So once we have that solid block in place there, the next thing we place is an observer facing into that block. And then on top of that observer, on top of that observer, we place a dispenser. Since this right here would be our normal ground level. And we can take a look back at the main farm and I'll show you kind of how that's all laid out. But then we have just one piece of redstone back here. So this would be our ground level. We would have our sheep here, and then we surround the sheep with glass, or actually you could probably surround it with any block that'll keep it in place, any solid block. I did try using fences, and fences did not patch all of the outputted wool in the correct spot to get it down into the hoppers. So I like to use glass. You can see the sheep. It allows the sun to come in and help the grass to regrow. And then as soon as this block changes state, we may be able to hear it here. You may have heard that redstone circuit kick in, and if I dig it up, the same thing should happen. So every time that block changes state, the observer notices, and then it triggers the dispenser to output whatever's in the dispenser. So we get a sheep in here, we put shears in the dispenser, and we block the whole thing in. So the moment the sheep eats the grass, it should regrow its wool. This triggers automatically to shoot out a pair of shears, and since there's no other place really for the shears to go, they bounce right back into the dispenser. The wool lands on the dirt, which is then pulled through the solid block by the minecart with the hopper in it. The hopper below the minecart pulls it from there and feeds it down into this chest. So really not a super complex circuit, and like I said, it's nothing original to me. That's just the design that I use, and we can see, if I would stop building things there, we'll see here is the dispenser. We look in the dispenser, I've got plenty of shears in there at the moment, and right below the dispenser is that observer that's watching the spot directly under the sheep. So right now I do have one of every color of sheep except white. White, I've got two. This guy way back here in the corner is a white. The space that I had available here just worked out that I could put in 17 of those shearing setups instead of just 16, and I figured white wool will probably come in handy, especially if I want to eventually start building some ocean-going ships with large sails. So that is the wool farm that I've spent a little bit of time on. It's really, I haven't decided if I want to add some polish to it or not. It's really just kind of a fancy corral at the moment. I don't have a roof on it. I don't really have anything going on here other than what amounts to a large fence. I don't really mind the way it looks, but I haven't decided if that's going to be its final form. Right now, it's more for the function than for the looks, but it kind of fits in over here with this farming area. So the next farm that we're going to look at that's kind of on this side of town, and again, this is not this is not a groundbreaking thing. This is a fairly standard sort of farm. It's just a quick little cow farm. You know, of course, I've got all my cattle over here. This one, and I apologize, we'll get away from the mooing here in a moment. But you come up here and you feed the cows. All of these cows are standing on trapdoors so they don't fall through. But the babies can fall through. So when you feed the cows, they mate, they have a baby, the baby falls down onto this level. You wait for the babies to grow up, and once they've grown up, you hit this button. All the dispensers in the back are set up to dispense lava. Each one has a lava bucket in it. And there's just a little circuit back here that triggers that. And it'll actually trigger it and then pull it back in. And that will instantly kill the adult cows that are in there. It'll cook their meat, and the leather and the cooked meat will wind up down here in the chests. 2 double chests is kind of ambitious for that one. I'm really not anticipating those to get filled up very quickly, especially because I only have 6 cows up at the top at the moment. those 6 cows produce 3 babies at a time. It's going to take a little while before I even have to worry about those chests being full. Now, one of the other automated farms that I've been working on is over here by my greenhouse. And you'll see I built a smaller kind of utility shed slash greenhouse in the back here. And this works similarly to the wool shearing stations. It's not. It's got a couple of little, I would say, bugs in it, if that's not a horrible joke, that I still need to work out. But overall, it works pretty well. What we've got is we've got beehives. Behind the beehives, and in fact, we can go around back here because I made a maintenance access. We've got dispensers again, full of shears. And on top of the beehives, facing down into those, are observers, and they are linked with redstone to the dispensers. So when the beehive gets full of honey, it automatically triggers a pair of shears to come out and harvests that as honeycomb. I believe I could change those shears out for bottles, and it should harvest those as honey bottles as well. Now, this was based on Namiachurs. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Simple Bee Farm. That was mostly for the redstone. They had a completely different design for their building. I wanted mine to fit in with the area here with my other greenhouse. And so I kind of redesigned that building. And I've got, it's kind of tough to see because it's buried under here, but I've got a hopper mine cart that is just running on a rail circuit underneath the entire floor here. So when honeycomb gets ejected from the beehives, that cart will pick it up, it'll pull it through the solid blocks, and then it'll deposit it over here. So you can see I've got about 4.5 stacks of honeycomb. I'm not using a lot of honeycomb in my builds. My wife, however, she has made a rather large building with a domed roof of copper, and that's taking a lot for her to get waxed. She wants to get it to a certain patina and then wax it and keep it that color. And unfortunately, my first greenhouse there, it also only had 5 beehives, but they were not automated in any way. You just had to go in and manually trim them whenever you thought about it, and it was taking a little while to gather all the honeycomb that she needed. Now those are the newer farms that I've built here in the village. Over on the other side of the river, and I've kind of glanced at these a bit before. I do have a sugarcane farm. As the sugarcane grows, it has an observer that triggers pistons that knock down the sugarcane, and it all goes. It actually uses water to get it to a hopper and into a chest. And then this is my clay farm. The clay farm, this was both of these were ones that I followed tutorials for, and unfortunately, again, that was before I had thought of taking notes and being able to credit the people who came up with them. This one was, to my mind, a marvel of compact redstone engineering. I I don't know that I could recreate this one myself if anything happened to it, so I never visit this one at night when there's a risk of creepers coming along to blow it up. What we've got here is a setup where if I put a block of dirt in here, it will automatically complete a circuit and trigger this piston to push this entire line that direction. The block that's here will get doused with a bottle of water from that dispenser, and will move down as a mud block. Once the entire line is full of mud blocks, these pistons will engage and push it out this direction. If I remember right, it does, I believe this entire field is 8 by 12. So if I were to harvest all this clay and go through the process of filling this area back up, I can fill it back up just standing here and repeatedly placing dirt blocks until this entire platform is full. Once the platform is full of mud, there's a mechanic in Minecraft that, with the dripstone on the block below it, it will eventually leach the water out of the mud and turn it into clay. So as I'm needing clay, usually for trading, I, I do need some occasionally for clay bricks, especially with the barn that I built. It needed a lot of red brick blocks for its roof. They come in really handy there, but for the most part, I use this for trading, especially if I've completed a raid and I'm getting really good deals from my villagers. I'll come out here, harvest this, and set up another one, and sometimes have a good chance to harvest it and take it over to my villagers and get a lot of good trades. Now, there were a couple of other farms that I've worked on, and we're just going to swim over here. But the other farms that I've built are actually in the Nether. And so we're going to take a quick jaunt over there. And you may remember from a previous video the little lagoon area that I built here. This is kind of my crossroads area. We are going to head this direction towards the swamp and the mushroom island and the fortress. And this is a little bit of a run. We will get through this as quickly as possible, and if this takes a little too long, then I may actually go in and just place a cut in here, and that way you all don't have to wait through a couple of minutes of me just wandering through tunnels. We have built a little bit of a portal network above the ceiling of the Nether, but my access to that is actually down at the end of this tunnel. It doesn't really take too long to get there. It's just a little, I don't know. I don't really want to say it's really inconvenient, because compared to going the same distance in the overworld, this is a remarkably short journey. So right here, we're at an intersection. If we go this way, we're going to get to one of the farms that I built. If we go this way and kind of up a staircase, we're going to get to the other. Since this is the one that's actually the closest at the moment, we're going to hop up here. This will take us, this is just a very rough staircase that I've built that will take us up to the ceiling of the Nether, and a hole that we have put up there that allows us to access the roof, which is normally inaccessible. From my understanding, this is only possible really in Java Edition. I thought I'd heard that there's not a way, or that the glitch does not work in Bedrock Edition. So people playing that may be kind of out of luck. But I believe you can get up above the ceiling in Bedrock. You just can't actually break the bedrock to make a hole for easy access to it. So we are just going to come right over here. This is a farm that I've built to try to harvest withers. No, I'm sorry, not withers, ghasts. This is my ghast farm. Unfortunately, it seems to be doing a much better job at harvesting skeletons than ghasts at the moment. The basic idea, and I'm not actually going to go in there, you can kind of see them from me hopping around. There are wither roses. In fact, wither roses are on every one of these netherrack that you can see. And we've got the same sort of minecart setup that we had over at my honeycomb farm, where anything that dies from the wither roses, those items will drop onto just any block inside that room, and then the hopper minecart will pull them through the block, and they'll come over here and deposit them. And you see I've got a couple of gas tiers. It's not a terribly efficient farm. I think if I built it maybe, I don't know, another 60 or 100 blocks up, if that doesn't get me to the build limit, I'm really not sure how high I could successfully build here in the Nether, then it might work better. Now, what I've done is way up there, probably about another 100 blocks above this, I have set up an AFK station. Of course, you can't really sleep in the Nether since you can't place a bed, but that allows you to just have a place to sit, AFK, and hopefully only be within range of this area to spawn things in, so that nothing below the ceiling would be spawning in. And I had thought that I had put credit on here for this one. I am not seeing that. I may have to get that fixed, and if I can, yeah, that surprises me. I was working off of that plan for a little bit, so I will need to get that corrected, and I will put that down in the notes for this video. So hopefully we will get a credit where it's due for the person who came up with this plan. Nice little basic plan, and hopefully will get us a few nether tiers, or gas tiers. We don't have a huge need for gas tiers, except that we want to be able to respawn the Ender Dragon. And you need gas tiers to in order to do that. So, like I said, we've got 2 gas tiers there, but that's already, what, I think I may have only gathered like 4 or 5 gas tiers total so far, since I don't tend to spend a whole lot of time exploring the Nether. I just don't, I don't run into a lot of ghasts where I can kill them and still grab any drops that they may make. Now we go off in this direction, and we're going to come to a nether fortress that my kids actually found when they were playing on this server quite some time ago. I had just built a path to get here relatively safely, so that I didn't have to worry too much about mobs spawning or, making my way over lava pools or lava lakes or things like that. Didn't have to worry about falling and dying in the Nether, because that's always a pain. So down this direction, and you'll see when we get here, I've carved out a little bit of a room on this level, which is actually where I go frequently when I need to dry out sponges quite a bit. And that's right here, because just down this way, we'll go down a flight of stairs, and we will be at another portal. That portal, right there, leads to a... oh, wow, it is noisy here. Let me back up a little bit. That portal leads to a small mushroom island in the middle of an ocean that is almost perfectly situated between 3 different ocean monuments. So I can pop out through there and go to ocean monuments to start harvesting. And we've got withers and blazes and all sorts of things hanging out right here. Give me a moment to prep. I am going to take a fire res potion, and we will go to the ghast farm. So you notice there... Oh, I'm sorry, not the Ghast farm, the Blaze farm. I keep saying the wrong mob name. Now you see, we have right here a nice large glass box, and there's a blaze up there. That is a wild spawning blaze. The idea here is that there is a blaze spawner up inside that box. This box is supposed to be sized just the right way that most blazes that spawn from that are going to spawn inside that box. Notice they float down. I could not have timed that better if I'd tried. And since we can't use water in the Nether, we use lava that pushes them all towards the center. And we are just going to drop that volume for a moment while we're here. See, the blazes all fall through here. We can sit here, whack at them as they float down. And then again, we've actually got slabs here that then have hoppers below them, and they gather the blaze rods into these chests. This was built on Rate Goods, Easiest Blaze XP Farm tutorial. And again, this was one of the things that I figured would make my life a lot easier when I get to the point that I want to build some automated potion machines. The only thing is that, as you can see, there are other blazes that kind of spawn wildly out here, and that means that just to be on the safe side, I always want to take a fire res potion before I head that direction, so that I do not get set on fire. Now we're going to head back to the village, because I have a couple of other things that I've been working on this week that are not really farms, that I'd like to go off a little bit. And we may have another short cut here to transition back. If you have spent any time watching Hermitcraft, they have designed a whole nether portal network with large hallways that are well lit and big enough to fly through, so you can really make the best use of your time. I have not gotten that far yet in what I've got here. Most of my tunnels were kind of built out of necessity, just with whatever blocks I had handy or whatever blocks I was digging through. If I came to a spot where it was exposed and mobs could drop in on me, I just filled in with whatever I had. Eventually, it would be nice to enlarge these tunnels, but at the moment, I've had other more interesting to me building projects that I've been working on. And now coming up here, we have, I think this is a, you'll have to correct me if I have the terms wrong. I think this is a bastion that part of this tunnel is built through. And I've used that actually for a lot of blackstone brick harvesting. In fact, you can see right here, just a lot of blackstone there, and then we've got the bricks up here. I've just started occasionally coming in when I just know that I'm going to need some for a project, and I harvest away right here. And coming through this tunnel, you can see we're up at the top of it, kind of running right along the upper level. This one, I believe my son actually located first, and unfortunately he had looted almost everything good that was in there before I got to it. So now I just use it as a quarry for some of the natural resources that are there. And now we are back at the Nether Lagoon, and we're going to hop right back through this portal. And I think we are going to take a quick rest in the bed here. Hopefully this rain will disappear when daylight comes. There we go. The rain has gone away. Now, at one point when I was just kind of actually flying around out here outside of my village, I noticed that these boats that I'd left by my little back dock had a couple of occupants. We'd had a couple of villagers that had spawned around here somewhere and made their way towards my village, and they got stuck in the boats. And I thought that I wanted to do something a little fun with those guys. So up here, near the city gates and our town hall, we now have a little dirt path that leads off to the side of the town hall. And as we make our way back between the trees, we come to our new jail. You see there, we've got a captain in there. Now, conveniently, since the mobs see these iron bars as solid blocks, he doesn't really aggro on me. He doesn't see that I'm here to be somebody he can attack or that he can focus on. Come in here, we've got two doors into his jail cell. You notice I'm not too cruel. I've given him some books. He's got a little desk in here that he can sit at, and I even provided him with some water. But he and his buddy are being isolated in their own cells at the moment. They've got a bed. They can take a nap if they want. And up here you can even look down in on the cells and observe how they're living their lives. And then up here we've just got a little bit of a balcony. Now I would like to do something with this section here. I would like to maybe turn this into a little bit more of a watchtower, something that goes up a little bit higher. My concern with that is that, of course, I haven't even finished these towers yet, but if I build that up into a tower, that's going to rival the height of the town hall. It may wind up rivaling the height of my city gates, and I just don't know that I want something like that that kind of distracts from those, especially as you're approaching from the outside. So it's one of those things that I have to consider a bit. I want to see exactly how I can accomplish expanding this building a bit without distracting from the other builds that I have. This isn't really a touristy spot right here. This is just one of those things that, your town eventually will probably need a place to keep some of the ne'er-do-wells. And this was based off of the Minecraft jail tutorial by Greg Builds. Now, you may be hearing some other little noises over here, because while this is a jail for people, it's not really suited for other sorts of mobs. So over here, you may notice, I've got... Oh, now he sees me. I've got a new little buddy. Ouch, I did not think I was close enough for that. We're going to close that so he cannot see me anymore. This guy was fun to get here. That was a bit of a challenge, and I kind of wish that I had thought to hit the record button before I brought him over. And you can see he's got a little chicken friend in there to keep him company. I don't know what crimes the chicken is guilty of, but it's got to be pretty bad if he's in there with a Ravager. So, when I have like a pillager raid that I know I'm going to trigger, I don't usually do it here in my own village, and it's not because I'm afraid of them attacking my villagers or anything like that. I've got plenty of iron golems around. I've got plenty of walls, plenty of doors that my villagers can go in. But the problem is that my city walls here extend so far around, and there are so many places between buildings for the pillagers to kind of get lost in that it's really tough to make sure that I've eliminated everybody. And sometimes you get down to one enemy in the raid left and you just can't find them. So what I do is I come over to the village that my daughters have established because it is a much more open village, no real walls here to worry about, and they conveniently have this rail line, which uh, a lot of enemy mobs will not cross rail lines easily. They can be knocked across them. Like I've got knockback on one of my swords, and that will definitely knock them across. They can be hit by arrows and pushed across. But back here by their portal, I have added some trapdoors around a pit, which means when you get to that stage of a raid that the Ravager is coming in, if I can lead them all back there, kind of kite them around this building and lead them back towards that hole, I can get the Ravager and I can even get the rest of the pillagers to fall in there, and uh, they can't really push the fight. They're stuck until I decide to get close enough to do something with them. Now, you see all this dirt that's down here. This dirt is left from a temporary path that I made about 20 or 30 blocks up into the sky. Probably not that high, probably about 15 blocks up in the sky, so that I could get that Ravager all the way back from behind that building to my walled village. So I had to build a dirt path that ran from here all the way to the pretty much the far corner of my town. And then once I had that path in place, I had to go trigger a raid, wait to get a Ravager, get a name tag on the Ravager without dying, and then lead him over here where the end of the path was above this cell, and it had trapdoors around the last block of dirt so that he would hopefully see the trapdoor as something he can stand on and he would walk right off. My first attempt at that was to do it using a minecart and to have railway that entire route. And unfortunately, I was able to get the Ravager in the minecart, but then I was having trouble getting the minecart to go where I wanted it just because I couldn't get close enough to push it, because every time I tried, the Ravager would knock me back. So eventually, I unfortunately had to dispose of that Ravager, wait for a second raid, get this one, name tag him. His name is Cuddles, by the way, if you're curious. And then, once he was in that pit, drop a bucket of water so that he would float up out of it and hurry up onto that dirt track and lead him all the way here. Now, I was very surprised I managed to do it on the first try without dying. I got him over here. We both dropped into the pen. I ran out through the doors and the gates there and closed them. And now I've got my own pet Ravager here as an enemy mob that is being held in quarantine. So this is kind of the big, I don't know, lore bits that I've added in the last couple of weeks. The rest of the farms, those are, utility. Those are going to help me out as I go forward with some of my other building projects. But I still wanted to be able to add a little something to the village itself to give it a little more character. So this is what we've got for our newest tour of my Minecraft walled city. I hope you've enjoyed seeing all the things that I've been working on. Some of these have been a bit of a challenge. I've had to learn a little bit more about how redstone works, about how some of these redstone blocks work, and I definitely had to learn a bit about how Ravagers work in order to get one over here without killing him or myself. But I've had a lot of fun working on all of this. I hope you've enjoyed this addition to my tour. And if you have any questions, any comments, please go ahead and leave those below. I'd love to hear what you think of everything that I've been building here. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.